Canada has so many scams, but hands down the greatest scam of all in Canada specifically is marriage. Forget about putting tampons in men's bathrooms, sending endless money over to fund wars in the Ukraine, condoms and gender affirming care for the gorillas over in the Congo. This is real shit that they actually spend money on. Marriage is the biggest scam in Canada. So you're telling me that you want me to sign a piece of paper so that I can let Mark Carney and the boys in Ottawa know that where I put my penis? No, thank you. It's none of your business, sir. You want me to bet half of my wealth, half of my future income, half my shit, all of my future sanity, and my future genetic legacy on some woman who is most likely on SSRIs and or birth control or in her 30s, which that is the average that men are looking for. Like the inventory of quality women in Canada is so low, it is astronomically insane. It truly is. I have two stories for you. There are two girls that I dated. I've had many girlfriends in my time, but two that stand out the most. Both of them, about half our relationships, they were on birth control and then not on birth control. And both of them, it was literally like dating two different people, right? Like a lot of the young people will talk about, I hope I have my partner with multiple personalities. No, we don't have a lemonade stand. Stop saying the word partner. Number two, no, I don't want somebody with multiple personalities and that is controlled by mind-altering drugs. So with the birth control, specifically the pill format, it basically tricks women and their body into believing that they just got pregnant, you were just fertilized. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but we're going to go with it here. And there's no need to drop an egg. Everything is all good. There's no more need for a period. So there's a very specific state after that where the woman is not fertile, and the birth control tricks them into that. And so women, again, are very emotional, very hormonal creatures, right? At the time of the month, they want a more taller, more high testosterone Q man. At softer times of the month, shall we say, they want a more softer, more keep me protected type of man, like nurture me type of deal, more feminized, right? And literally both of those women, it was like two different people that I was dating. When they were off the birth control, they wanted me to have a shorter haircut, longer beard, more masculine features. When they were on the birth control, maybe grow your hair out a little bit longer. Maybe you taper the beard a bit so it's a little more rounded, softer edges, right? I had two completely different people. And then you also factor in the SSRIs. It basically stops women from being able to feel happy and or sad and just makes them zombies somewhere in the middle. And unless you are out to lunch, the chemical imbalances, just how they absolutely destroy any natural ability to feel things and to be a human, and the fact that doctors are prescribing these, and then again, as a man, I'm going to invest half my wealth, my future kids, my future legacy, and all my sanity into somebody being controlled by that stuff. No, thank you. There's another girl I dated. She was on SSRIs when I met her. I didn't know immediately when I met her, but a couple months later, I'm in her bathroom and there is a massive pill cupboard. And I've heard the analogy that women want to see what's in a man's bank account. A man should want to see what's in her pill cupboard or in her bathroom, like when you open the window, the mirror, and then there was all the pills. It's very true. And I remember she didn't want to get off them, and she was trying to pressure me. I want to live together. I want you to move in with me. I said, listen, I'm not going to move in with you. If you get off these pills and you prove it to me, I will take that inquiry a lot more seriously. Because you're going to show me that you're going to get off this shit, which is in your best interest to get off them. That shows me that you're serious about moving in with you. And she stopped for maybe about a week, and then, have you had any recently? Oh, I had 2 today. Why'd you have 2? I couldn't do it. I was just feeling too sad. It's like, yeah, you're going to take the Band-Aid off. It's going to start bleeding a little bit. We got to fix it type of deal, right? I look at people on SSRIs. A lot of people are going to disagree with this. This is a really hot take. When you're tired, you need sleep. When you're thirsty, you need water. When you're hungry, you need food. When you're sore, you need to recover your muscles. When you're depressed, you need to change something. It is your body literally telling you what you are doing is not working. Please change something. Up to you. But again, this is the body giving you signs and clues. And to just like patch it up and put a Band-Aid over top, it's all good. We're just going to leave that there. Like there's some dog shit here on the floor, but we're just going to step around it. Why don't we just pick it up? Type of deal. And a lot of people don't think about this. And so to bring it back to marriage being a scam, and you wanted me to put a bet on a woman that is not going to blow up the family, alienate me from my kids, and take half my shit and throw me through the divorce family law machine, no thank you. And on top of that, women have 1,001 different demands from a man, right? You heard the saying, women have 1,001 demands, but don't know 3 ways to keep a man happy. I've also heard women know 1,000 ways to catch a man cheating, but don't know 3 ways to keep him happy and stop him from doing that, both of which are true. And women also want you as a man to wear like 30 different hats, right? They want you, and I have a little list written down here. So women want you to be a best friend. They want you to be a father, a therapist, a masseuse, good with kids, loves puppies, wants to travel the world. He's got to be rich. He's got to be 6'5", handsome, humble, and sexy from Winnipeg, born and raised, prairie boy. Got to be able to blow her back out properly on Saturday nights for date night. And most importantly, a partner. Man, there is no way better to find out if a man is feminized if he's calling somebody his partner, or if a woman's been psyoped into believing this new age thing when she calls you my partner. I want to find my partner. No, waiter, check please. No, thank you. I don't want any of that type of stuff. And if you think about it, like what is a woman's job? I was having this conversation with my mom this morning. What is a woman's job in a marriage? That's the man's job. There's 30,001 different requirements, and as the relationship goes on, she wants more and more and more. We all know this. But what is a woman's job? It is be available, be attractive, don't get fat, and be respectful. That is it. As a woman, to any females watching this, you can message me on Instagram for clarification. I will give you the same answer. That is the golden ticket to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Be available, be attractive, don't get fat, be respectful. That is it. And maybe be like peaceful. That's the only thing that I need in a woman. It's crazy how simple it is. We are so simple creatures as men. And I remember, I've alluded to her a couple times. There's this crazy radical liberal feminist that I dated for a little under a year. This was a huge red pilling experience for me, dating this woman. I remember she was in the bathroom one day. She comes out. She's crying. Boo-hoo-hoo. What's wrong, sweetheart? Oh, I'm 200 pounds. She was tall. She's about 6 feet tall. I'm 200 pounds. And in my mind, I'm thinking, shit. I thought she was like 180. I didn't think she was 200 pounds. And so I played it cool. That's horrible. What were you before? Well, when I met you, I was 175. And I'm like, holy shit. Maybe we got to stop eating. And then before I even got a word out, she says, well, would you still love me if I was fat? No, I would not. That's like one of the 4 job descriptions you have. Attractive, available, don't be fat, be respectful, and preferably peaceful. If you get fat, this ain't going to work. That's like the only job you have to do. And she just could not fathom that this was a requirement. Meanwhile, again, there's the laundry list of expectations that women have, which is crazy. But the point I bring up is I was talking with my mom this morning. What is the purpose of marriage? Because she was telling me that, I love my dad, obviously, but he proposed to my mom the first time. She said, no, thank you, declined. He tried again, and here we are, worked out. And I said, why was that so important to him? And my mom said, I don't know. I don't know why it was so important to him. It didn't really matter to me. It's just a piece of paper to let Mark Carney and the boys, or I guess, what would that have been? Let Brian Mulroney and the boys know that, hey, this is where Frank puts his dick. That's it. That's all it is, just a little piece of paper. But what is the purpose of marriage? Like if you were, again, I was a professional hockey goalie. I was very strategic about my day-to-day. How am I going to go about executing my job? How am I going to get better? How am I going to technically improve every single day on the 1% and 1% details? I had a mission every single day and a purpose. And I apply that to everything in life. How am I going to execute this? What is the goal? What is the point? And I've come to the conclusion that in life, I would rather be wrong and be competitive than be right and not be competitive. I don't care what society says is right. I want to be competitive, and I want to be have the biggest advantage that I possibly can. I want to be as advantageous as I possibly can in whatever setting I'm in. And so what is the goal of marriage? And so some of the answers that my mom was giving me was, well, what about companionship? And I said, what does companionship mean to you? She said, well, somebody to talk to and be around you, make you feel like you're not alone. I said, do you need to be married for that? No, not really. Okay. Commitment? Well, does a piece of paper show my commitment? I had an argument with one woman I dated once upon a time. She wanted to get married. Like, marry me. I said, I'm not doing that. I am not going to marry you with the government. Marriage between you and I, sure. You can be my wife. I can be your husband, sure. But marriage with the government, no, sir. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to do that or sign a legal contract to do so. And obviously the demands would amplify. And I said, you know what? We can do that. If you decide to leave, you get nothing, and you're going to sign a contract that says you get absolutely nothing. But I want to be a stay-at-home woman. What if you decide to leave me for somebody younger? Well, then you better not get fat. What if you decide that this isn't working for you anymore? Well, then you better not be annoying, and you better be respectful to me. But what if I want my own freedom, want to make my own decisions? Well, then you better trust that I'm going to make good decisions on your behalf. Like anything but accountability, which again, drinking water and accountability, that is truly a woman's kryptonite in so many different aspects of life. But again, back to the marriage goal. What is the purpose of marriage? What is the goal? What is the outcome you're trying to get? Well, what about kids? Right? Bring a man and a woman together, commit. Maybe back in the day it was, there was no hormonal birth control or IUDs or any of that type of stuff or abortions. So, well, if you want to have a little bit of fun, you want to blow Susie's back out on a Saturday night, you better marry her. You can't just go blowing people's backs out like that. You got to marry her. Okay, cool. I'll make an honest woman out of her. That makes sense. But you don't really need that anymore. Birth control, be in control of the birth, problem solved. But kids, mother and father come together, marriage, I guess, keeps them together and gives you kids. I would argue that you don't need to be married to have kids. You could just have kids today, which is definitely where I'm leaning more sort towards. But I do think that the idea of like mom and dad are married does help the kid to not have mommy or daddy issues. And when you think of that today's generation, doesn't matter if you're Generation X, millennial like myself, very tail end of the millennials. I was really pissed when I found out I was a millennial, or Gen Z, or I think Generation Alpha now, the late 2010s or Generation Alpha. If I'm mistaken, let me know in the comment section. But it's going to help them if they know that mom and dad do love each other, they're together, and mom is giving the female side of the needs that the kid needs, and the father is giving the masculine essence, the masculine side, the masculine teachings, the provider, the protector. And so the ultimate goal is kids. And when you factor in the declining birth rates, I've talked about it a few times, there's virtually zero teenage pregnancies anymore in Canada. Zero. Right? Birth control and abortions have completely cleaned that out. I think 25% of all births in Canada this decade are abortions, which is insane. You've wiped out 25% of the population, which we'll just, I suppose, bring in from India or Somalia or Pakistan. And we'll offset that type of deal. But we have more women getting pregnant in their 40s than teenage pregnancies, right? Women in their 20s, if they have a university degree, I think 95% of all women in that scenario, in that demographic, do not have kids because they've been told, go to university, climb the corporate ladder, get a job, get a degree, get more degrees in a thermometer, put off having kids, get some benefits, freeze your eggs, do it in your 30s. Well, again, waiter, check please. I don't want to have kids with a woman in her 30s. I don't want to be the cleanup guy. Women accumulate baggage and they don't really deal with trauma very well. So I don't want to be the guy that's having to deal with the undoing of that. I'd rather just, it's think about, I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but the reality is, do I want to buy a 2000 Dodge Ram or do I want to buy the 2026? I get a warranty. Everything's probably going to last. I don't have to fix a bunch of stuff. I don't have to put any work into it. It just runs the way that it's supposed to be, right? It's true. And any man that is honest will say the same thing. It's why women are so afraid that you're going to leave her for the 19-year-old secretary. Less baggage, more enjoyable, younger, and not fat. And more enjoyable to be around, more agreeable type of deal. And again, you will catch me licking a belt sander before you see me dating a liberal woman, taking a woman that is a feminist seriously, dating anybody 26 or above. 25 and under is that sweet spot that I like. And especially having kids with a woman in her 30s. Absolutely not. No, sir. No, sir. Check, please. Waiter. No, thank you. We're not going to do that. I've talked about the inventory of quality women being low, the birth rates. Again, it's so interesting. You can. It's literally like clockwork. Women have fun in their 20s, well, early 20s, first half of their 20s, and then they go through a whole like marketing rebrand of, 26, 27, 28. I'm going to be religious. I'm a Christian woman now. I'm a traditional woman. I want a traditional man that's going to provide for me. Okay, well, if we have a daughter, do I have the final say on who she does or date? And if I say no, the answer is no. I don't want any questions asked. Well, that's oppressive. I disagree. I think it is child abuse if you didn't do that, because God, this chair might be breaking on me. Even this chair is offended by what I'm saying. Think about it from this perspective. Who is going to have more experience and more knowledge to make good decisions on dating? My daughter, who was 16, with zero experience, zero knowledge, and also we all know that teenagers think they know more than adults, or a swindler himself. Who's going to know a swindler better than a swindler? I'll say, nope, don't like him. Nope, we're not going to have that boy come around anymore. Nope, that's not a good fit to have kids with, right? Who's going to have their daughter's best interest more in mind? Her, who is a very emotional creature, or her father that wants her to be taken care of and to be protected, not to go through a bunch of trauma and a bunch of baggage, right? It's so interesting. Again, men, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if there's a reason why. I have noticed this from experience though, but men get better with trauma. They get better with hard times and hardships for whatever reason. But women don't. It's almost like putting like bricks in in a gym bag and just carrying around all this baggage all the time. And it is sad. And I think that if fathers were fathers and men were men again, they would step up and say, no, I'm going to protect my daughter from going through that stuff, because it is really sad. You see a lot of women get traumatized by a lot of this sleep with whoever you want, climb the corporate ladder, do whatever, basically become the man that you want to attract and be a very unattractive version of that man as a female. And you wonder why they all get sad. They go through the rebrand in Christianity and they settle for the cleanup guy, late 20s, early 30s. That has no idea that this is happening. On the abortion thing, I mentioned like a quarter of all pregnancies in Canada this decade have been abortions, which is interesting. But I find it so funny. Women have become so comfortable, in my experience anyway, admitting that they've had an abortion. I literally remember earlier this year, or I guess we're earlier in the year, so I guess it would have been end of last year. I went on a date with a girl. This is first date. I think she asked me, did you do anything crazy happen to you last year? I said, well, I officially closed the chapter on playing professional hockey. I've started doing mixed martial arts training. That's been interesting. I've turned the new chapter on trying to start a travel series, riding trains, sharing my love of history and train travel, etc. That was really cool. Got to go to Alaska. I love that. Got to go to Colorado. That was cool. Got to ride some really cool trains, go from Prince Rupert, all this really cool stuff. I had a very exciting 20s. And her answer was, well, I had an abortion over the summer. I'm like, what? Why are you admitting? I mean, first off, thank you for helping me weed you out quickly. But why are you admitting that you had an abortion on a first date? It's like, oh, it was an accident. It's like, what, did he trip down a flight of stairs, fall with an erection, and then what happened? Like, that is an accident. What you did was probably not an accident. And she said, well, of course it was an accident. I said, did you use condoms? No. Were you on birth control? No. Well, obviously his pull-out game is weak. But that's not an accident. You knew exactly what you're doing, and now you're trying to rebrand it. Same thing with the I'm a traditional woman type of deal. And it's funny because she was also trying to advertise me as a Christian traditional woman. And traditional women don't believe in abortions because they want to have as many kids as possible, and that would get in the way of them having kids because they have such a short window to do so. It's so fascinating. I remember even another girl I dated for a period of time, her admitting to me that she had an abortion. Same thing. Was it an accident? Yeah, it was an accident. It was an accident? It was unplanned? I think you knew exactly what you're doing. You just weren't prepared and weren't planning. You were planning to use your absolute last-ditch effort as a get-out-of-jail-free card, which, again, waiter, check please. Marriage. This is what you were signing up for. Everything that I've outlined in this video, this is what you were signing up, half your net worth, your mental sanity, and your future kids, your future legacy on one woman under these circumstances. And again, marriage is the greatest scam in Canada. It's interesting. If all men stop marrying women and stop simping, we have an epidemic of simps. Maybe I should, oh my God, I could do so many stories on simps that I've seen and women that have told me stories on simps. That's another video. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much here. But if all the men stop marrying these women, or women in general, and women would get upset, and then, all right, well, if you don't like it, you want to get married, maybe go down to Parliament Hill, maybe go down to the Victoria Legislature here in Vancouver, or I guess across in Vancouver Island, and say, these men aren't marrying us. We want family law to be more in our favor. We want to retract some of the women's rights. But guess what? The genie is never going to go back in the bottle. The toothpaste has come out of the tube. You ever tried putting toothpaste back in a toothpaste tube? It cannot be done. This is the way that it's going. And this is the great decline of Canada. You cannot solve it. You cannot vote your way out. So get used to it. Get a nice warm latte, put your feet up on the desk, and enjoy the decline. Enjoy the ride. If you agree with any of this, any of the things that I've said, hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to fund the creation of more content like this, there is a channel member and Patreon page. And if there's something specific that you want me to make a video on, throw a channel member super thanks for $20 or Patreon, and I will make a video just for you on this. This is very touchy stuff. Can't really put sponsors on it. So self-funding is the way to go. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.